Welcome to Appalachian Haunts and Haints. I'm Michael,
I'm Missy.
and on this show, we are going to discuss legends and ghost stories of from the Appalachian region. We want to cover well-known subjects like Bigfoot and the Brown Mountain Lights of North Carolina. The Mothman, which I know is a favorite of yours.
Oh, absolutely a favorite. I've heard all the podcasts. I've read the book. It's amazing. Met someone from there. Can't wait.
And when we do the Mothman, we want to go to Point Pleasant. We want to film from Point Pleasant when we do the Mothman episode. So that'll be exciting. The Bell Witch. We'll do an episode on the Bell Witch of Adams family, of Adams, Tennessee. While it's not necessarily Appalachian, it's the people are from Appalachia, the people that had moved from the Appalachian region. So it's kind of fits in the mold.
Yeah, and I mean, what's Appalachia and Tennessee without a good Bell Witch story?
We also, at some point, we're going to talk about the Flatwoods Monster of West Virginia. There are a lot of stories from West Virginia. West Virginia is the only state that's fully inside the Appalachian region. So there are a lot of stories out of West Virginia because of that reason. And we'll also cover lesser-known legends and ghost stories. We're not just going to talk about cryptids. We're going to talk about ghosts, hauntings. We want to cover things like Sadie Baker, which is a legend out of Tullahoma, Coffee County. Crazy George's Bridge, which we hope to do, which we're going to do in the next episode, which is a local legend out of Putnam County. We're going to meet with ghost hunters and people who have had paranormal experiences in the area and interview them. This isn't just about cryptids. This is about hauntings and haints and ghosts. And we're not going to be hunting the ghosts. We're just telling the stories. We're not, going to use an EVP or anything like that to try to determine whether the ghosts are real or whether the experiences are real. We just want to tell the stories. We want to tell the history behind the stories, if there is one. We're not going to tell anyone how they should believe. That's not for us to determine. We just want to tell the stories.
Essentially, we want to do those once told tales. The twice told tales get told all the time, and they're passed down through podcasts and videos. And, as much as we love those, and we are planning on covering our fair share of those, but we really want to do the once told tales, the ones that maybe not everybody knows about, the ones that are kind of more localized and centralized, because, after all, the Appalachians are we're kind of autonomous, we're kind of to ourselves. And so I think it's really important to be able to share some of these people's stories.
So we're excited to do this show, and we're very excited to be on Tingler. We're very excited to bring this show to Tingler TV. And Melissa, tell us a little bit about why we're on Tingler.
So, Tingler is the coolest of the cool indie channels. And when I learned about Tingler, I was, flipping through some of the Facebook posts, because I had already been following Tingler, and they're just so incredibly talented and just neat and cool. And of course, Tennessee Macabre, and all of your indie creators and your, kind of your low budget horror films, which we love.
Yeah.
We
do.
We had a marathon. We had vowed that we were going to watch every scary movie, and by far the B movies were our favorites. And so, you've got beavers and hamsters and things like that, Sharknadoes. Yeah. But Tingler it holds a special place with me. It's not overly processed. It's indie content, indie creators, locally owned.
which is a huge plus.
Absolutely. And they don't mar the movies. They have just a really great love for just the classics and the cult classics.
So with that being said, we love Tingler, and we're excited to be on Tingler Television, and we're hoping that everyone watches the show and enjoys Tingler TV as much as we do.
Yeah. And if our camera is a little bit off kilter than it was before, it's because our cat decided that he was going to come and grace us with his presence.
Yeah. So, where were we? Oh, yeah. So, I want to start off. On this episode, we're going to focus on just giving everyone a general geography and history of the Appalachian region. We have the legends and the ghost stories prepared for next week. But a lot of people who are watching this may not know anything about the Appalachian region. And we just want to give a little history, geography, because we learned a lot when doing some research for this episode ourselves.
But first, what are you drinking?
I'm drinking mead.
Oh,
my own one? just my own mead.
What kind?
Just plain mead. It's nothing special.
Just the honey mead?
Yeah, just honey mead. It's just honey mead.
And I am drinking
from my first batch.
It was so good. I'm drinking my very favorite drink ever in life, which is a Bloody Mary. And my husband makes me the most delicious ones, and so he made one of those for me. You can go ahead. I'm always interested in what people are drinking, and I feel like other people are too. Okay, go ahead.
So, many of the people in the Appalachian region have Scots-Irish roots. So, with that being said, let's talk about some of the geography of the Appalachian region.
If we're still alive by the time all of these gnats and mosquitoes eat us alive.
Yeah, we got some gnats going on here.
Hey, this is the South, y'all.
South in the spring, and it just rained, so we got a little bit of gnats going on. Somebody thought it would be cool to do it outside, and for the record, it is cool. I mean, it's much better background behind us than our fireplace.
Yeah, that's me. I'm
but
I'm the one.
But the gnats are or we don't have gnats in the house, so
we may be taking this in the house soon.
So, oh no, we're gonna finish it here.
Okay.
We're gonna finish it here. We may suffer through this, but we're gonna finish it here.
Okay.
So a little background on the history and geography of the Appalachian region. The Appalachian Mountains stretch from Belle Isle in Newfoundland and Labrador, Canada. Okay, the mountains go that far, and down to the Chia Mountain in Alabama. So from Alabama all the way to Canada, those are the Appalachian Mountains. The Appalachian region, which is different from the mountains, refers to the cultural region that ranges from the Catskills in New York down to the southwest to the Blue Ridge Mountains, which runs from southern Pennsylvania to northern Georgia, and then the Great Smoky Mountains, which are in Tennessee and North Carolina. As of 2020, that's a big area to cover. A lot of stories. I mean, as of 2020, there are over 26 million people living in the Appalachian region. Can you imagine the stories those people have heard? And in fact, while it's the smallest mountain range by height, according to geologists, it's the oldest mountain range. 480 million years old, which is older than any other mountain range in the United States.
There's a lot of old gods in that area.
A lot of old gods. Absolutely. So the name Appalachia comes from it's Spanish, comes from the Spanish explorations. In 1528, a guy named Alvar Nunez Cabeza de Vaca, and we have had this conversation
The cow's head.
because his name is Alvar Nunez, head of the cow. So I guess he had to. I mean, I guess if I had my name was Alvar Nunez Cowhead, I'd want something, I'd want to be known for something other than that. So he found a village of indigenous people near Tallahassee, Florida. Just there, he transcribed their name as Appalachian. So they were the Appalachian tribe. And of course, it was altered by the Spanish to Appalache, and that was the name they used for the tribe of people that he found in Florida. When Spanish cartographers in 1540 mapped the mountain range, they named the mountain range for that Indian tribe and called it Appalachian.
May take a break. I'm gonna go get. I'm gonna go get some citronella or something.
We got some citronella over there. Didn't we buy some?
Yeah.
Maybe need to burn it or something. So that's the geography of the Appalachian region. A little history about the Appalachian region, culture. More a history of the culture, I guess, than the region. I guess about 90% of Appalachia's earliest European settlers originated from Scotland and Ireland. Thanks to King James, who stole land from the Irish to give it to the Scottish because he was trying to spread Protestantism and Ireland was Catholic. The Scottish weren't happy because even though he was giving them land, they still didn't have any political power. So what better way to find religious freedom and more political power than to move to a land where you can start all on your own. So that's what they did. But they weren't the only ones that settled in the Appalachian region. The Swedish and the Finnish settlers came to the Appalachian region and brought their woodsman skills. A lot of the log cabins and a lot of the woodsman culture came from the Swedish and the Finnish settlers. You've got the Germans who migrated to the Appalachian region and mainly settling in western Pennsylvania and southwest Virginia. And if you go to that area, you'll see that there's a huge German influence in that area. The Welsh came to the Appalachian region for the mining. They brought their metallurgical expertise, their mining expertise. A large number of Italians showed up in the early 18th and the late 19th and early 20th centuries because of mining. So it's a hodgepodge of cultures combined. I mean, the African Americans have been around since the African American culture has been around since the 18th century. Native Americans have been in the area longer than anyone, even though they're a smaller percentage now.
Well, we'll see about that. We're going to talk a little bit about the Moon-Eyed people that may kind of upset that one.
Officially, the Native Americans have been in the area longer than anyone else. Now most of the Cherokee, which was the tribe that was in the Appalachians, most of them are in Oklahoma now, but they're still the eastern band of Cherokee in the area. And when we get to the Moon-Eyed people, we'll talk about that. And so it's a huge combination of cultures that have come together in this region to create what we know as Appalachia. Not just cultures, but religions. I mean, you've got the Irish came and brought Catholicism. The Scottish came and brought Presbyterianism. Then you've got the Native American, religions and beliefs, and so there's during the circuit rides, the Methodism came into play.
Okay,
All right, so
go.
the Appalachian region is really rooted in all these cultures and all these different religions, and that's created the Appalachian culture that we know today.
And a lot of that, a lot of the paganism plays into that too. A lot of the ways that were adapted and the traditions and rituals that we still do today.
So yeah, exactly. And your Appalachian folk tales there, which is really a lot of what we're going to talk about. I call them, folk tales and jack tales.
Yeah.
They're rooted in English, Scottish, and Irish fairy tales. In the industrial areas of western Pennsylvania, northern West Virginia, they've got jack tales that they talk about a Joe Magarac who's a steel worker. It's a folk tale. It's been handed down for generations. So he's basically just the Paul Bunyan of the steel industry. He's 7 feet tall and he's made of steel. But that story has come down for generations over the years, and they still tell the stories. You've got regional folk heroes that have made it, that have become from the Appalachian, that evolved into popular folk tales like John Henry, Davy Crockett, Mike Fink, Johnny Appleseed. These are real life figures that have become folk heroes in the Appalachian area. Then you've got murder stories like Omi Wise, which she was murdered by her lover in North Carolina in the Deep River.
And I don't think either one of us knew that was actually an event. I mean,
no, I just knew it was a song. I just
Yeah.
knew it was a song by Dale Watson. I didn't know it was a real thing until I started doing research on this.
Yeah.
And then you've got John Hardy, who was a railroad worker in, again, West Virginia. He killed a man in a drunken dispute during a craps game, and he is also a popular subject for an Appalachian ballad. Which, one thing that we would like to do during the show is play and talk about some of the Appalachian ballads, some of the Appalachian songs during part of one of our shows every week is cover one of the songs and talk about it a little bit and how it fits into the Appalachian culture.
Yeah, I mean, ballads are such a lost musical art. There are so few people now that actually keep up with the tradition, but they were foundational. The ballads were foundational to our heritage.
But one of the things we want to cover the most during this show are the ghost stories.
Yeah.
The haint tales.
Yeah.
And for those that don't know what a haint is, we'll talk about that in a little bit. Because I didn't know what a haint was until Missy said, "Hey, let's call it Appalachian Haunts and Haints."
And then I had to tell him how I heard about that word because I grew up with it.
Then I had to Google it because I didn't know what a haint was. But now I do. And so, they're just, oral, and they come from oral and literary tradition that's been passed down over the decades, over the centuries. I mean, you've got urban legends, horror stories rooted in the Appalachian region, like the Mothman from the 60s in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, which is her favorite, and we're hoping to do that episode in West Virginia, in Point Pleasant.
One of my favorites.
It even inspired a movie, The Mothman Prophecies in 2002. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It's a good movie.
It was a really good movie.
Yes.
I mean, it didn't exactly follow along, with the book. The book delved into a whole lot more more of the underlying stuff with it. The Men in Black. The skinwalkers and shapeshifters. So that kind of had a whole big play into it too. But that didn't quite make the movie cut. But still very good. You should watch it.
And then, you've got the Brown Mountain Lights that since the 1910s, people have been reporting glowing orbs around the Brown Mountain Ridgeline in North Carolina.
Yeah, and even some of the Native American traditions,
Yes.
they were passed down in some of the Native American traditions from generation to generation that just didn't make our history books.
Then, of course, we'll talk about the Bell Witch haunting, which has inspired many major films of the horror genre like Poltergeist, Blair Witch Project, the Paranormal Activity series. Just about any movie that has a witch haunting someone or a ghost haunting someone has been inspired by that story. So, real quick, before we end this show, we have to talk about the word haint. Just because I'm confident there are more people out there other than me. I'm not the only one. I'm confident I'm not the only one who's never heard the word haint. So, the word haint, what it is, well, basically, it's an evil spirit. Some people say it originated from the Gullah Geechee people, who they're descendants of the African slaves who lived predominantly in the Low Country, in the Carolinas and Georgia and North Florida. So they say, according to a guy.
All right, buddy, come on. Sorry,
So-
another break. Had to remove another cat.
So there's a gardening expert named Felder Rushing. He wrote a book about the history of bottle trees. And according to him, the word haint is actually derived from early European roots. The verb hanter, meaning to stalk or inhabit, and dates the word to around 1330. And according to him, used as a noun for the first time around 1843. So a haint is basically an evil spirit. And they can enter your home through, obviously they're a ghost, they're a spirit. They can enter your home through any hole, any keyhole, any hole in your house, in your window, any door. And there is a color, and they still use it to this day. You can still see houses to this day in Charleston, South Carolina, that use a color called haint blue.
I had no idea about that, and I
Haint
feel
blue.
confident we have to paint that somewhere on the house now.
And the reason they use the haint blue is because apparently haints can't travel over water, and if they see the blue, they think it's water and they stop.
Growing up in this area, I remember very specifically a house, an elderly lady lived there, and her whole front porch just looked like water, and it looked like it was a swimming pool, and I feel very confident that that was the same color.
I believe it. A lot of ways you can distract a haint. If you get a haint in your house, you can make a bottle tree, preferably blue bottles. We have a bottle tree in our yard. Tell them about your bottle tree.
Did you have any idea what that was when?
I had no
when we
idea
met?
what it was. I didn't know the purpose of the bottle tree until I researched for this show, and I've lived here 7 years.
Yep. He's from East Tennessee, and I'm from here. A lot of our background, he's more the skeptic. He never really believed in ghosts or haints or, any kind of supernatural anything, no cryptids, not even UFOs. And, so when we met, he, absolutely believe in all that. I've experienced it. I grew up with it. It was carried down from my family, and from story to story and generation to generation. I come from a long line of believers and provers, and so I have a bottle tree in my backyard, and So I've got it facing from east to west. You know, it sits when the sun comes up and the sun goes down, and it's always in the light. And well, it was back then. I probably need to, trim back the bushes a little bit or the tree a little bit. But when I put it up, it was from east to west, and you got the bottles on there, and so if any haints try to come around your house, if any ill-willed or ill-seeking spirits want to come around, it'll trap them. And the sun rises up, kills them, sun goes down, and starts the whole cycle all over again. And that's just been sitting in my backyard for forever, and he didn't realize it. I guess he just thought it was pretty, which is pretty. It's very pretty.
It's pretty.
It is pretty.
It's pretty.
Okay, we have different. I'm, being the upcycler, I'm absolutely thinking this is so pretty, and he's just like, oh, it's a tree with some bottles.
But now I know. It keeps the evil spirits away.
Yes, it does.
So that's our show. We hope you've enjoyed it. We hope we've educated you a little bit. I hope you've learned something, because I know we did when we were researching it. If you got bored, sorry. Next week.
It'll get better.
It'll get better.
It will get better.
Next week, we are going to talk about Crazy George's Bridge and the Witches Cemetery in Putnam County.
And we really hope this is one of the very last times that we just have to talk at you. Our goal for the show is to be able to be on location 90% of the time. We want to, we're going to travel and show you all the things that, we want you to see, and the things that maybe you haven't had an opportunity to see, or just maybe see things in a different light.
Yes.
I feel like that we're going to pride ourselves on being able to do very extensive research, lots and lots of background, because that's important to me. I feel like that we're both very motivated by, research and documentation. And
Yes.
So that's one of our hopes for doing the show, is that we're able to maybe find something that somebody else didn't know or find, or,
Even by accident.
So we'll keep you posted, but we hope that, we're not going to be doing a whole lot. Obviously it's beautiful out here. This is our backyard, and, we've got our barn and our garden and our grandkids playing in the yard. So if you guys heard them, that's what that was. But you guys will see them too. They'll be on several shows. But we really want to be on the road, because this is what we have done already. And, this is what we do on our weekends and our free time. So we just visit historical sites, local hauntings, and I'm determined to get this guy to see a ghost. Maybe make him a believer.
And we will be doing an episode from the Smoky Mountain Bigfoot Festival in Townsend, Tennessee in a few weeks. So you guys will get to see footage from that. We're also going to do episodes from Civil War battlefields where ghosts have been seen, like Stones River, which is an hour and a half from us, Chickamauga, which is an hour and a half from us. So, we're going to cover those, and we're going to do those from location, so that we won't have to sit here at a table. And
even though this is our harvest table,
this is our harvest table for our garden, and with the beautiful background behind us, we'd much rather be out and about and talking about those things on location.
Yeah, I mean, that's where we'd be on the weekends anyway. So why not take you guys with us?
And that's our show. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week.
Bye, guys.